Can you still drink coffee and achieve a weight loss goal? I personally love coffee, so I really wanted to dive into this topic today, and I brought on one of the best experts in this topic, the creator of the mold-free organic purity coffee, and I'm going to be interviewing him on this topic and all of your coffee questions answered in terms of weight loss in today's video. All right, guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. I'm just about to give Andrew a call right now via Skype so that we can start diving into this topic of coffee and weight loss.
Will you tell everyone just real quick what it is that Purity is and introduce yourself just so they get a little background of who you are and what Purity stands for?
My name's Andrew Salisbury and I started Purity Coffee around 5 years ago, I suppose, was the first time we started looking into it in terms of research and development. And the idea came around because my wife was having some health issues. So my wife was having some health issues and she was drinking a lot of coffee like most of us do to sort of self-medicate when she had low energy. And I started researching the health benefits of coffee, and I really expected to find out that it was bad for you because I knew a lot of people that were talking who were health conscious people who were trying to minimize the amount of coffee that they were drinking. And what I found out was actually the reverse, that coffee can be incredibly good for you if it's done right, and it's the #1 source of antioxidants in the American diet. And so that sort of set me down that path of really looking, it was about 2 years of research and development, looking at every step of the production chain to see, A, what we could do or what we would be able to do to impact the health benefits of coffee if we made every decision based on health.
So from what you've seen, since you're so much especially in the field of health in relation to coffee, what have you seen in terms of coffee related to weight loss?
I mean, there's lots of benefits of coffee, and our perspective is in the beginning that coffee is very good for you. But as it relates to weight loss, there's two things that are going on that make a difference. The first is the caffeine in coffee. But most people sort of think coffee is caffeine and caffeine is coffee, and they think it's the same thing. But the reality is there's another compound that's really very important in coffee called chlorogenic acids, or CGAs. And they're the polyphenols or the antioxidants in coffee. And that's the thing that also has a beneficial impact on overall health. When it comes to weight loss, caffeine is great because it accelerates your metabolism, it helps you burn fat. If you're drinking great quality coffee and you're drinking it black, it's virtually 0 calories. It helps speed up your metabolism, and I know a lot of other people use it as a way of putting in fats and that sort of thing, and as sort of as a good sort of base for that type of drink.
Yeah, so you're saying that it's the not as much, maybe the caffeine does a part, but it's also the chlorogenic acid.
The chlorogenic acid helps you recover, so it's all about anti-inflammation. So if you're reducing the inflammation in your body, not only is that good for recovery from workouts, so the caffeine has been shown to accelerate workouts performance. I mean, there's a reason why sporting institutes and sporting bodies minimize or regulate the amount of caffeine that you consume before an event, because they know it actually helps you perform. So the caffeine is going to help you perform, but the chlorogenic acids, the antioxidants, are going to help you recover quicker and reduce the inflammation in your body.
Okay, guys, I'm just editing this video, but I just wanted to jump in for a little bit of clarification because Andrew just brought up some really great points about chlorogenic acid. So there's actually a 2013 study that had found that the chlorogenic acid helps to balance blood glucose levels and therefore decrease the insulin secretion, which, as you guys know on my channel, is super important for achieving a weight loss goal, because every time you have that big spike in insulin, you're in storing mode. It shuts off lipolysis, which is the fat burning, and makes it so that you aren't able to tap into fat burning mechanisms. So it appears that the chlorogenic acid is responsible for helping to balance out this response, which is why it can be such a really great useful tool if you are on a weight loss journey.
Which, of course, with the decreased inflammation, just from my perspective from nutrition, decreasing the inflammation makes it so that you have that decreased puffiness sensation too. That's something that, like, just even with, for example, quitting sugar is a very obvious sign of that too, where people notice that they get that decreased puffiness. So it could be that same mechanism of the chlorogenic acid decreasing the inflammation, decreasing that sensation of puffiness.
Exactly. I mean, we've all seen people who are unfortunately inflamed because they've got toxicity in their body, and so they're looking worse than they would be had they been, reduced the inflammation in their body. And so it has that added benefit that it really does have a real impact on your body, but also impact the way that you look and feel.
Right. And then in terms of weight loss, I think where a lot of people can be led astray on thinking that coffee isn't great for weight loss is because of what they typically add in. And again, from my perspective, I see it that there's so much sugar that people add into their coffee in terms of, even the sugar-free sweeteners that still have an insulin response on the body. But I mean, I can't even imagine on top of that, the low quality coffee, like the Starbucks coffee and such that would be going into that. But again, different video. But yeah, I think that's where people can also be led astray is what's added into the coffee and how they would typically have it too.
Yeah. And, and people have different reactions to the quality of their coffee. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about mold, or we'll talk about, whether the coffee is organic or whether it's treated with pesticides, but that's also a thing that can cause an inflammation response in the body, and that has an impact. Right,
absolutely. One thing that I know a lot of my subscribers are interested in, myself personally as well, is the stress hormone cortisol. I'm not sure if you have come across very many studies on just the, in general, caffeine's response to cortisol, or if cortisol has a response from caffeine in coffee, or if the chlorogenic acids and the other antioxidants negate that. But do you have any research on what you've seen in terms of cortisol?
It seems to be very personal, because I looked into this quite a lot with my wife to see whether she was having a cortisol response to this, because one of the first things we were looking at is possibly adrenal fatigue, or just the fact that she was taxing her body too much. And I think it's a mixed bag. I think that the caffeine is likely to cause a spike in cortisol, but it's just like blood pressure. Coffee can cause, or caffeine can cause a short-term spike, but it actually is very good for the heart. So long-term, it's very good because of the antioxidants, but short term there could be a spike in acute blood pressure. So I think it really depends on the person, to be honest, and it depends on your sensitivities to some of the other things that can typically be found in poor quality coffees.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that other caffeine or other coffee companies have also gone and artificially increased the caffeine to make it more addictive in the coffee. And that's probably also where some people can get some negative responses, just that much higher amount of caffeine in relation to the actual chlorogenic acid that's to go along with it that could help buffer that.
And absolutely, and one of the problems is that people don't pay attention to the chlorogenic acids, because people aren't buying coffee based on health, then no one's producing coffee based on health. And so there's a lot of shortcuts that are made that impact the amounts of antioxidants in the coffee that could be avoided if people paid attention to, the correct farming and production practices. So that makes a difference.
Yeah. I think you guys were the first coffee, because I've noticed more and more coffee companies starting to come out that's more focused on the health component, but you guys were the first ones I ever saw who actually were even looking into that as a factor. I mean, people have talked about coffee possibly being good for you, possibly even bad for you, but never to the degree that we talk about like fruits and vegetables, where you want to make sure that you have high quality fruits, high quality vegetables, or if you're going to eat meat, have high quality meat. So it's something that I think more people are starting to come to terms with, but it's still, I think, like a more foreign concept to view coffee as the same category.
Yeah, it was really surprising to me, because when I first was told that coffee is good for you, I thought, okay, really, could it have all these health benefits? And when I started looking into it, there's been over 19,000 studies done on the health benefits of coffee. And these are peer-reviewed studies with major medical institutions, very large studies. I mean, there's one study which is 1,109,000 people tracked over 25 years, a particular study just about diabetes and the reduction of coffee consumption and the reduction of type 2 diabetes. So the first thing I noticed is it's incredibly well researched, but there's just this huge gap between what the scientific community knows about the health benefits of coffee and then what the general public knows.
Yeah, so we see that in nutrition all across the board.
Exactly, yeah.
My audience is very familiar with that there's a discrepancy between what the public is being fed as common knowledge versus like what we actually know in science. So it seems like it really comes down to inflammation and also what's actually being put into the coffee itself. So thank you for the clarification on that and sharing how coffee is apparently the most studied food, period.
It really is.
Yeah. That too, yeah, it's the most studied food that we've ever studied.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Excellent.
All right, guys, as a little bonus to the AM peeps, I talked with Andrew and we're getting 20% off all Purity Coffee orders right now when you use the code SUMMERIF. And this expires on July 13th. So make sure that you get your Purity Coffee for the upcoming Summer Intermittent Fasting Challenge, which I'll also have linked in the description below for how you can join in. Otherwise, Keto Coffee cheers, Keto Coffee mold-free coffee cheers, and I'll see you guys in my next video.